Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And at the very outset, I would like to congratulate RRU, SMASL, and especially Colonel Deepak Joshi, Ms. Kanchana Ramanujan, and her team of Saurabh Raj Purohit and Shan Singh Tonk for hosting this Veterans of 1971 War to exchange our experience during the hostilities. I'll also congratulate them for hosting the brave daughters of two war heroes. We have Miss Anjali Kaur Mullah and Miss Amita Mullah, the daughters of Captain Emin Mullah, of whom I'll be talking later on, the commanding officer of...
The daughter of Captain Mullah, not the daughter-in-law. He had no sons. Sorry.
Yeah, I said daughter also, I said. Okay, and Miss Priya Sharma, the daughter of Commodore Inderjit Sharma. Now, in 1971, I was a young lieutenant, navigating officer of the frontline ship INS Betwa. And believe you me, all of us on board were full of josh, resolute, and extremely bold. In the next few minutes, I'll share with you the Western Fleet operations and especially the two daring attacks on Karachi, which have been already mentioned by Colonel Joshi, which are codenamed Trident and Python. Now, before taking you through the war and battle operations, I would like to touch on some of the very unique aspects of 1971 war, which had not happened in any conflict earlier, any war earlier. Can you show the slide, please? Sorry. Yeah, the two nations going to war and a third nation is born. We know what happened in the Second World War. When the Allies, they won, the Germany was taken over. We had the West Germany and we had the East Germany thereafter. But here two nations have gone to war and a third nation was born. The second important aspect was a very, very decisive victory achieved in just 13 days and with more than 95,000 prisoners of war. As Colonel Joshi mentioned, that the 7th Fleet was already on the way. Actually, the 7th Fleet set sail from Hong Kong, but they had to stop in Singapore for 3 days and 4 nights, and that's what really changed the scenario. Because if this war had got prolonged beyond this, it would be an entirely different scenario, with both America and Russia being involved. The third thing was the missile boats attacking Karachi port. Ladies and gentlemen, these are not attack vessels. These are basically Russians themselves were very surprised who have actually built these boats. These boats are meant to be very defensive boats, defense of your own harbor. And in case of your harbor getting attacked, these missiles, which have very, very limited duration. I happened to command Naval later on 1976, and it's got very, very limited operation period. Nobody could ever believe that we will tow these missile boats right up to Karachi harbor and hit them right inside their house. So, can you show me a missile boat photograph? These are the missile boats. Now, you can, by having a look at this, you'll be able to appreciate what you see is a 17-meter, or just about 50 feet long vessel, but full of muscles in it. You can see the two hangars on the right side. you can see a small gun in the front, anti-aircraft gun, and you can see the radar systems on top, which are visible on both the port and starboard side, left and right side. Like you see the two missile hangars on this side, on the starboard side, the two missile hangars on the other side. And in one deck below is where we have our accommodation, where we have our control systems, where we have a little galley, and we have a high-speed engine room. And all, and the deck below is where we keep all our fuel and water and our lube oil. Now imagine this boat of this size, which can, cannot go in any rough weather, be taken right inside Karachi Harbour, 12 miles away from Karachi Harbour. What is 12 miles? Nothing at all. And carrying out havoc over there, and that also the very next day the war breaks out. Pakistan, as you heard Ms. Gandhi and you heard Colonel Joshi, the war breaking out on the 3rd, on the third evening. And the 4th evening, we go right inside the house and attack them. Now, that was a very, very big surprise, which is a very big principle of war, element of surprise. And Pakistan didn't know what to hit them. They thought it was an air attack. And the 4th point, which I'm trying to bring over here, is the total blockade. Go back to the slide, please. The total blockade of the Pakistan coast and ports. Can you imagine, after 3 days of war, the merchant ships in the Pakistan port started getting in touch with the Indian government, asking them that, can we have a free passage? Can we get out of the Pakistan ports? I mean, that was the kind of scenario. So these 4 things were unprecedented. 2 nations going to war, and 3rd nation getting born. A very, very decisive victory in 13 days. The small missile boats are meant for basically, for defense, going and carrying out attack right inside Karachi port, not once, but again repeating it after 3 days. And we having a total sea control over the Arabian Sea, total sea denial to Pakistan, or total blockade. Next slide, please. Now, the mission which was given to us in the Western Fleet was to seek and destroy Pakistan Navy warships. Seek and destroy, lure them out and attack them and destroy them. The second was to attack and cripple the Karachi port. And third, which was very important, was we didn't want any tankers to come from Gulf and go to Karachi and then, just choke them and not any total blockade, which Colonel Joshi mentioned earlier, of allowing any ships, merchant ships, to enter the Pakistan ports and give them the logistics support. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be covering my this section in about eight parts. Please show the slide. Yeah, I will just talk to you about our departure from the Bombay port, which was on the 2nd. And then what happened was on the 3rd evening, and by the way, my ship, which was INS Betwa, was the radar picket. We had the long-range warning radar, and we were supposed to provide the complete information of any aircraft to the whole fleet. So this aircraft started shadowing us on the 3rd, and later on I'll tell you how we shook it off. Then our attack on Karachi on the 4th and 5th night, the Operation Trident, and thereafter, splitting up our fleet into various groups. And then we're repeating the attack on the 8th and 9th on the Karachi Harbour, which was Operation Python. Then, because we had already split into 3 different groups, and one group had gone as close to Oman in Africa, that was the Deepa group. And again, all the groups rejoining. We had one very, very unfortunate incident. I think we paid a very, very heavy price of losing more than Kukri's Captain Mullah, a very, very brave officer who refused to get out of the ship and save himself. and setting a precedent for the Navy forever. He's become immortal. He's remembered everywhere. Every naval station has something about a name. We have a moratorium in Bombay, we have in Cochin. I've known him personally myself, which I'll talk about later. And then I'm returning back to Bombay. So I'll cover in the next 15 or 20 minutes in these 8 portions, the various aspects. Now, when we sailed out, on 2nd December, we were 13 ships. Can you enlarge it a little bit, please, from Mumbai? We were 13 ships at Mumbai. So I'll just show Mumbai and enlarge the chart a little bit. Zoom it. Yeah. We were 13 ships when we sailed out from Mumbai. It was the 2nd. And I'll tell you later on that, as far as I'm concerned personally, my engagement had been fixed on the 5th of December. And so we sailed on the 2nd, and we knew that Pakistan submarine might be outside, but that time we didn't know the war was going to break out. And we were 13 strong ships, a very big flotilla. The frontline ships of the Indian Navy. Mysore was the flagship. And we had this, then we had 2 Talwar and Trishul, then we had Betwa, then we had Ranjit. But we had a tanker, Deepak. Now that's why when you see the whole chart, we sailed all over the Arabian Sea. It was only because the tanker kept refueling us again and again. We will spend our fuel, again go back and come back to 100% of fuel on board. We had the tanker, and then we had a missile boat, Minash, which we were towing. Ranjit was towing sometime, and Betwa towed for some time. The commander Jairat was the captain of the ship. And we sailed out on the 2nd. And on 3rd morning, we got a submarine contact. We got the submarine contact, and we were told to investigate. So Trishul came to help us, and we were definite. But since there was no war, we couldn't have dropped any depth charges, or we couldn't have dropped any anti-submarine weapons. But we held the submarine contact on the 3rd morning. Now, a little later, we were told that, okay, disengage and start coming back. Now, I must tell you that, from Mumbai to Karachi is 600 miles. As you see on the chart, Mumbai to Karachi is 600 nautical miles. But from Okha, you see Okha further up on north? Okha is only about 200 miles from Karachi. So as we were heading on the 3rd, going into the center of the Arabian Sea, positioning ourselves, then again, Betwa, our ship only picked up 1 aircraft. So we just show the position. Just before we turned around, earlier, this was in the afternoon, 3 o'clock, when one of my ER, we had, in the radar room, you have A screen and the normal screen. He saw a contact A screen and came running to me. So we have aircraft. The aircraft is quite far, but is coming closer by, and then he turned back again. So I also went down to the radar room, and I could see this aircraft from the A scan. It was closing, but not coming within range and going away again. So we knew that we don't have any Indian Navy aircraft or Indian Air Force aircraft in the area. So it was known that this is the Pakistani reconnaissance aircraft. And we also knew that Pakistan had requisitioned about 10 Pakistan airline aircraft and put the naval officers on board and converted them to recce. Why I'm saying 10, I'll tell you a little later. Why I'm saying that figure 10 from the Pakistan Airlines. Now we send a message straight away to the fleet commander that we have this aircraft which is trailing us. It is coming to about 13-14 miles, again moving out, again closing in. I must say the fleet commander took a very, very good decision. We just altered course south. Can you show that, please? We turn south. As you see over there, number 2, we turn south. And we split. Here I've shown only one track, but we split into 3 different groups and 4 groups. Oh, no, this totally confused the aircraft. He didn't know which one to go behind. And we all went into very high speed. I remember we were told to do the maximum speed, Maso 120 plus. Only thing was the ship Ranjit, which was towing the missile boat, she couldn't go very high because she was towing the boat behind. Now, what happened was this aircraft, in the meantime, we got the message that hostilities are broken out. This was at dusk in the evening. Now, we had this, the hostilities are broken out, and we had this Pakistan aircraft on our tail. That means that our position was compromised. I mean, Pakistan knew that 13 ships of the Indian Navy are just 200 miles south of Karachi. You can see Karachi right up north. If you look at Karachi over there, it's just right up north. And we're just about 220 miles south of Karachi. So that means right in the beginning of the war, our position had been compromised. So what Fleet Command did was he split into different groups, and the aircraft didn't do. And eventually, I think he was not relieved on task. He went away. Now, I want to bring out to you that though they had 10 aircraft, our maneuver, I will not put the small alteration of course over here. Our maneuver by the Western Fleet Commander was so good that till we came back on the 12th, no aircraft could come and catch us. And I think that was a very, very big surprise. And that's what was meant in a very big favor in us. Because if we were detected again, we would have been under attack by the Pakistan aircraft, and the situation would have been different then. So as we were going, as we were coming south, we 13 ships were going south. There's one more group, which is shown on red. That group had formed up and was near Oka. Now this group was, by two motherships were there. One was Kiltan and one was Kachal. These were two Patriot class motherships. You can see the red line. They were in Oka. Can you show Oka, please? Now we're moving south, and this group is already has assembled over there. And they got 3 missile boats along with them. That means Nirghat, Nepal, and Veer. And Nirghat is commanded by Commander Inderjit Sharma. And we have Priya here with us, his daughter with us today. Again, a very, very formidable. Can you imagine 3 missile boats with 12 missiles on board? And this is only about 200 miles from Karachi. And nobody knows. Pakistan had no clue. Pakistan was thinking that, where the blue line is there, that the Indian fleet is 150, 200 miles south of Karachi. And the Indian fleet is sailing away from the Pakistan coast. So you can imagine that, these are the surprise that we achieved. They are thinking that we are 200 miles south of Karachi, well away from any port. In the meantime, another force of 5 ships, 2 motherships, Kirtan and Kachal, and 3 formidable missile boats are moving in towards Karachi without they knowing about it. And mind you, this is just one day after the war. The war has just broken out on the 3rd evening, and the 4th evening, this group is already mobilized. So you can well imagine how much of planning and how much of not only planning is the execution that taking place. And this group started moving slowly towards Karachi. Now at about 6 p.m., that 1800 hours, just show that point, which was about 150 miles away from Karachi. And at night, 10 o'clock, which is show the position very close to Karachi, is on a northerly course. Yeah. It was only miles from Karachi. Now, at that time, when they were about 70 miles from Karachi, they detected 2 contacts, which Colonel Joshi also mentioned earlier. And this Pak Navy destroyed Khyber, which was patrolling outside Karachi. Now, Khyber was a very, very formidable ship. Khyber was one of the frontline ships after Babur of Pakistan Navy. It is the best of radars. It is the best of guns, it is the best of equipment on board, and very, very high speed. This ship could do 28 knots. Now, when Khyber saw the group coming in the meantime, even from Karachi, the naval station at Karachi reported the group and saying that there are some ships which are moving in, a group of ships moving in towards Karachi. Can you imagine when Khyber is coming down at 28 knots and Nipat, Nirghat and Veer are moving again at 28, 30 knots? The closing speed is 60 miles per hour. That means every 1 minute they're closing 1 mile. And after having commanded a missile boat myself, you have to carry out a pre-checks at the last minute, which takes a few minutes. And hats off to, to Commander Inderjit Sharma that he carried out. He was assigned, okay, now he was told by Captain, you take on this contact and move on and do your pre-launch checks and attack the ship. Now, Nippert got into position. And, see that missile range was only but 14 miles. The moment they closed in, and moment the contact came 14 miles, in the Nirghat fired the first missile. And that missile just homed down straight onto Khyber. Now, Khyber didn't know what happened. He thought that he was under air attack. The Pakistan Navy officer could never ever imagine, and the captain of Khyber could never imagine that missile boat will come and hit him at Karachi. He was just patrolling outside the Karachi port. And he made a signal that I'm under air attack. The moment he made the signal, I'm under air attack, and I'm shipping a lot of water. So there's one ship, which was a minesweeper, that was Mohafiz. She was told to go and provide assistance and get to Khyber's position. Now what happened was, moment Nirghat saw that first missile hit, then he launched a second missile. And the second missile, they could see the missile coming on Khyber. That's what we understand from the story that we read later on. And they saw the ball of fire coming towards them, and they didn't know what was coming. They were still thinking the aircraft coming. And again, he made a message, I am under air attack. And this missile came and hit right in the boiler room. And believe you me, within 2 minutes, Khyber just sank. We're taking nearly 90% people on board. The captain saved himself, but the whole ship just went down. Now, when Mohaz came over there, she couldn't find Khyber. Only thing that a lot of people were floating over there. In the meantime, the second, which was Veer. Now, she was told to attack the ship Mohafiz, which was coming in, started closing in. And Veer also, she fired a first missile, fired a second missile, and even that ship got sunk. So 2 naval ships of Pakistan Navy were sunk in a period of about half an hour or 20 minutes by the time the Operation Trident had been launched. And the our third missile boat, that was Nipat, she was also told, okay, now you engage the contact we're having. And this contact was called Venus Challenger. Now, this was a merchant ship that was carrying a whole lot of ammunition, whole lot of, for Air Force, Pakistan ammunition from America, from Saigon. Because Pakistan had a lot of American equipment, American aircraft, starfighters, and were carrying a whole lot of ammunition, and had some naval officers on board. And she was fully loaded with the Army, Air Force, Navy cargo on board. Now, when this missile went and hit, you can imagine, because she already had so much of ammunition on board, and she already had she was carrying a lot of ammunition also, because Pakistan not manufacturing the ammunition. That ammunition burst, and that's why you heard earlier, the signal being made that we can see Diwali in Karachi. Now, what Nippert did was it fired one more missile toward the harbor. And by chance, that missile went right into just show Karachi. On the starboard side of Karachi, there is the oil farm. Yeah, there's the oil farm right there at Karachi. Now, when he came and fired more to the right side, more to starboard, that, because the missile would home on to the biggest target, it homed down to all those various oil tanks, and all the tanks were on fire. Can you imagine? The Air Force thereafter had a very good target, and the Air Force would keep coming in and keep putting in bombs. And this fire kept on for 4 days. You can imagine the morale of the Pakistan Navy and the Pakistan people, because they could see the whole Karachi burning day and night. Now this was getting them and Operation Trident. And thereafter, this whole group, the two motherships, Kiltan and Kachur, and the three missile boats, Nirghat, Nipat, and Veer, thereafter they returned back. They came back, there was a tanker called Posha because they finished all their fuel. They had to be refueled. So they came to the tanker Posha, which was near Porbandar, waiting for them. They took the fuel and they came back to Bombay. Now we were on Betwa. I was maintaining a whole chart, and the moment we got the message, there were a lot of jubilance. We were so happy that we have started the war. We were a little unhappy because if you see a position on 4th, when we turned south, Saurav, just show the position, please. No, more north, more upward. The right side. Now, where we turned south, yeah. Now, if we had not turned south, we would also gone into Karachi the next day. But two things were achieved. One, that we surprised because Pakistan had a position and they knew we were here. And we were moving south. So they had the position that we were moving south. And we were already more than 200 miles away from Karachi. And no way we can come and attack Karachi at that time. So, what happened was then if we wanted to attack on 5th, we could not do that. Then we just came well to the south. As you see the southerly position, we just kept moving south. And I've not put on the track, smaller track. And then what happened was that we just kept moving around over there. And we were thinking that we will carry out an attack on Karachi on the next day, on the 5th and 6th, just show position, and that's when we started moving northwards. Now we were thinking that we will do our next attack, and that's why we're moving up. But then the naval headquarters came down saying that because they got to know that the Pakistan air effort had been, the aircraft hadn't got ready, and we will come on air attack. Then what happened was, since we were told not to attack, we altered course towards to starboard, towards the east. Please show the altering course to east, so that we stay in the same lane from Karachi. So whenever required, we can move into Karachi. Now next day, what happened when we wanted to move again on the 7th? The weather was very bad, and we could not tow the missile boat. So again, then what happened was, since we could not carry the attack that day, then we again moved northwards on a northwesterly direction, which you can see now. We kept moving, and then we got one more occasion on the 8th. The weather became good, and on the 8th morning, we split into two groups, actually 3 groups. While I'm showing you only 2 groups here because there were 2 fighting groups. Trishul, Talwar, and Manash to go and attack Karachi. Then the other group was shown in orange. That was Arsal, Betwa, Mysore, and Ranjit to go and attack Gwadar. Though we knew that there's nothing in Gwadar, we knew that all the Pakistani ships are in harbor. And the intelligence came that the Pakistani ships have all only in Karachi, there's nobody in Gwadar, but still we thought we will go and at least bombard that place if required. Now this group which you see of Trishul and Talwar, this was Operation Python. Now Vinash, Trishul and Talwar, they headed toward Karachi. One Pakistani boat came in the way, and they had no option but to finish the boat. That was in the evening of 8th, and make sure that she sinks. And they positioned themselves off Karachi just at 2200, and nobody from Pakistan knowing, because what has happened now was, which I must explain to you, if you see our direction, we are coming from the west. We are coming from southwest now. Because Pakistan was thinking that either we'll come from south, or we'll come from southeast, we'll come from Okha side, or we'll come from our own countryside. Now this was a very, very big ruse, which the students must see that they paid off, that we came from the west. Pakistan was not expecting we'll come from the west and attack Karachi. And then when Trishul, Talwar were just in position, they let go Vinash and told Vinash go and expend all your 4 missiles. And what happened when Minash attacked? The very first missile, that went into a tank again. So the fire which had just on the 7th it was burning from 4th to 7th, and Pakistan firefighters had just been able to put up that fire. Again, on the 8th, Vinash, that very first missile, gave us such a big blaze that there's a writing available that it could be seen miles away. So, and I think it also was on the tank right next to where the Pakistani ships were. Now, just so happened they got so scared, can you imagine? The next day, the Pakistan ship were told, remove all your ammunition from the ship. Can you imagine a warship being told, remove all your ammunition? All the ships had gone inside, except Dhaka, the tanker was outside, and they were told, remove all your ammunition. Because they were so scared that next missile attack which comes on Karachi might come on their ships, and they will lose all the ships. I mean, the war is on, and you've been told to de-ammunition. You can imagine what would have been the morale of the Pakistan Navy at that time. Now, not taking more time, the first missile hit Karachi, the second missile hit a British merchant ship, Hamilton, the third missile hit a Panama ship called Gulf Star, and the fourth missile went right onto their tanker, the Pakistan Navy tanker, the name of Dhaka. This is a tanker like our tanker Deepak, was fueling all the Pakistan ships. That means they crippled the Pakistan Navy because without the tanker, they will have very, very limited movement if the war would have continued thereafter. Because the ship wouldn't have been able to survive for a long period at sea because Dhaka was the only tanker. Now we were going toward the Makran coast, the orange. We were all ready and we done our plots to do all a gunfire in Makran coast. This is the time when Mysore saw one merchant ship by the name of Madhumati. The moment she saw us on the radar, we also find that she also picked up, she alter course. She was going away from Karachi, and then she started alter course going towards Karachi. So we closed on to the merchant ship, and she was masqueraded. She had put on some other name. She put some Greek name on herself. And then we knew that when we called her, we fired guns in front of her. She just stopped, and she said, I'm Madhumati, and I'm a Pakistani merchant ship. So then we sent a boarding party, and as a war booty, we took the ship and thing. In the meantime, on the eastern coast, Navy had already taken about 11 or 12 merchant ships because of blockade, which Admiral Mohanan will discuss later on. But this was the first merchant ship, Pakistan merchant ship, that we caught. And then in the meantime, we came southward because we got late of carrying on attack on Gwadar, and fleet commander realized that we'll come under air attack. Till now, we have already maintained our total secrecy of our position. Let's maintain it. Because all the 10 Pakistan airlines, PI aircraft, they were searching and they're the folk of friendship. We got the message that nearly at all time, 4 to 5 aircraft are airborne, both at day and at night, but they couldn't find where the Indian Navy Western Fleet was. I think that was a very, very big gain that we had, and it was something because of planning of going so far to the west. You can imagine the third group was Deepak. And the Deepak went as close to Oman. Deepak and Kadmat were told to leave us when we two split. Just show Oman, please. Show Oman, Saurabh. Yeah. Can you imagine? Deepak went as much close to Oman, and then the next day, all three groups we joined up, and then we started. As you can see, we joined up, and then we started heading towards we all joined up on that night. Now, there's one incident that happened on the 9th. So this was attack on the 8th and 9th, and the 9th started moving south, waiting for any further instructions, or if any Pakistan Navy comes out, or any aircraft come, then we will engage them accordingly. Now, what really happened was the Kukri was with us. I will just take a few minutes on Kukri. She sailed with us on the 2nd from Karachi, but what happened was that on the 4th, Ainul Kuthar had a fire on board. Her boiler room caught fire. And then the fleet commander decided that she cannot, she's a sitting duck, and she cannot continue to sail with the Western Fleet. she no longer of any use to him. So he told, and there was no submarine threat now because we already had left. The next submarine threat will only be when we are going back to Bombay. So he told his anti-submarine squadron of Kirpan, Kukri and Kuthar to go back to Bombay. And Kirpan was told to tow Kuthar, and all three ships, then they went back to Bombay, and they entered Bombay on the sixth morning. Can you show Bombay, please? Show Mumbai, Saurabh. And as they entered Mumbai, then there was a discussion between already the command knew that there is a submarine lurking around the Gujarat coast. Now, Gujarat coast is very, very important for us because all our movement towards Karachi through the Gujarat. If the missile boat had to go for attack again, they cannot go the way we went unless they're towed, the way we towed Vinash. Again, go all the way. Here also we'll have to them to Oka, and from there we'll leave them to go and carry out attack on Karachi. So there couldn't be a submarine there because if the submarine comes away, she would not allow any further attack force to go towards Karachi and bombard Karachi. So the Admiral Kohli, who was the commander-in-chief at that time, had a word with Captain Mullah and told him, see, you are very depleted because now we only two ships. Can you go ahead and do an Alpha Kilo mission and try and get this submarine which is lurking around? We know that we're getting some EW intercepts. That the ship is somewhere around the Gujarat coast, and it will be in the way for any future attacks. And Captain Mullah readily agreed, though he had very depleted strength. He said, so, and he just moved on. They sailed out, and they were there on the 8th they were sailed, and on the 9th they were there. Now what happened was on the 9th, there was this submarine, which was lurking over there, and the name was Hangur. So Hangur was in that area, and when they were carrying out a rectangular search, both Kirpan and Kuthar, and Hangur could pick them up right in the beginning, and she positioned herself very well. In normal circumstances, it would have not been so easy for her, but she was already present over there. She didn't have to move and take on position. She just took on the position where the ships were coming in. And she fired her first on that at about, in the evening at about 1947. She fired her first torpedo on these two ships. Can you show the position, please? Kukri position. Saurabh? Kukri position, please. So you can see the Kukri position on top. Yeah, that is the position. Now the submarine fired first torpedo. First torpedo went underneath, did not even, it did not explode. But the second torpedo went hit the boiler room of Kukri. Now it would have hit in the aft, somewhere, not in the engine room, but front. I'm sure Captain Mullah would have been able to save the ship. But then it hit in such a spot, right in the center in the engine room, that exploded there, and a huge gap was formed, and the ship started sinking. Now, one thing which I want to mention over here is Captain Mullah, if you wanted, I have many, many friends thereafter, whom I've known, who I've talked to also, who said that they kept telling him, so you also give wearing a life jacket, and he gave a life jacket also to one sailor. And he was just kept sitting there on a chair and kept telling everyone, get out of the ship, get out of the ship, as the ship was sinking down. And, try and get everybody off the ship, get the boats down into the water. And in the true tradition of the Navy, he decided to go down with Kukri. I've known him quite well. What happened was, alongside on the 30th of November. And the navigating officer and I'm a very close friend. And we were together, plotting all our positions because the position had to be rechecked. Alpha, Alpha, Bravo, Bravo, Charlie, Charlie. If there are any mistakes, he told me, Surinder, why don't you come over? We'll sit down together. We have lunch together. It's nearly a lot of work, and we'll get all the charts, start putting all the positions, which will just come in, and we just put the position, and you check mine, and I'll check yours. In the meantime, I remember Captain Mullah also walked in that time. How's everything? It's a very fine sir. I known him earlier when he was a commander of Naval Barracks. You see, keep going into him. Very tall, handsome. What a personality that time. And he'd become a captain when he took over cookery, which he had gone from Angre only. So he decided to go down with the ship. And the whole Navy, even today, is something which is mentioned to every young sailor, every young officer who joins. Because he set a precedence. There's one more incident that happened that, there was a small which was being towed from Port Blair to, in the 80s, or late 80s, from Port Blair to Vizag. Now this ship had a leak. She was being moved by Maga, but they couldn't save her. The captain kept sitting in the chair and told, "Either tum jao, tumko yaad nahi hai, Captain Mullah Sahab, kya kiya?" His sailors begging him, and he telling them, "Don't you remember Captain Mullah?" And this Commander Ghosh also went down with the ship in the true tradition. I mean, he set a precedent for the Navy thereafter. Tomorrow, if something happened to me, I would also done the same thing. I would have gone down with my ship. So, this is a price that we paid. But in the meantime, what happened was, you can imagine that we already had sunk, 5 Pakistani craft. We sunk their main Khyber. We had crippled Karachi. We had already hit Dhaka. And the kind of a situation I mean that the whole war which was taking place on the eastern side, the Western Front had given the impetus and broken the back of Pakistan. I somehow feel that later on what will happen on the Eastern Front, both Army, the Air Force and the Navy played a very big part of not only taking away, their mind from Bangladesh, and the amount of havoc that we played, the Navy at least. You can imagine we had a total sea control and total sea denial to the enemy throughout the period. And thereafter, as you see over there, we took because we already expended a missile, and then we decided that we should go back and reload our missiles and come back to the area of operation again, because there were no Pakistani warship at all. There were total sea control and sea denial, sea control to ourselves and sea denial to the enemy. We were concerned. Then when we came back, we did not go hugging or going close to Okha and then coming down. As you said, the green track, we headed right near Goa. So because we had 2 threats at this time. We had a threat from the aircraft, and we had a threat from the Pakistan submarine. And you can just see over there that the track that we followed thereafter. Just see the track, green track. The green track is coming down. We headed toward right up to Okha, right up to Goa, and then we were about 150 miles. 150 miles from Goa. Then we altered north, and we kept hugging the coast. Can you imagine being a navigator? I was so worried, and that I was, with only about 7-8 feet of water below my keel. But the fleet commander wanted to just hug the coast and go up. And the submarine must have been lurking there, but the submarine could not find us. As we came in thereafter, and then thereafter we refueled, we re-ammunition. The missile boats were again loaded with missiles. In the meantime, the ceasefire took place. And that was a 13-day war. A few salient points before I finish up. I'll just take 1 minute and I'll take one question thereafter. There were total sea control to ourselves and total sea denial. This is one of the main principles, this thing was, of concentration of effort, principle of war. And you know that there was total surprise. One of the main principles of war, you find that there was both the attacks, the Trident and Python were total surprise. They didn't expect that the second attack will come from the west. And concentration of forces, we were as another principle of war. We all worked together and concentrated. And total blockade. Can you imagine merchant ships calling up India, can we give a safe passage? And we totally shattered the morale of the Pak forces. But I must say over here that we had on month of October and November, I remember the way we were trained. We used to be so tired after 10 days, 12 days sailing and come back. The fleet commander, when he went to war, it felt like, it is something we had done so often. So there's a very nice saying, the more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war. I mean, we had exercised so much earlier during the period when the war was, thrust upon us, that we were fully prepared and we were fully trained to take on because we were trained well, and that's why we could take on the enemy head on. And, it's only when you aim for perfection, you somewhere land up somewhere near that. So I have not touched too much on cookery so much. We have, moreover, anything on Vinash, anything which is on masala attack trident and cookery will be touched upon, and I'm sure we'll have them pay homage to Captain Mullah. Thank you very much.